why I'm telling you is that, in spite of I am not from such a department of philosophy or education, I'm standing before you to talk and present about the more philosophical terminological research. I mean, what I am presenting for the roughly for about 2.5 hours is all basically on my experience. So I have not gone through any textbook related to research methodology to plan the content of my slides, but I just prepared my slides recollecting my own experience for the last roughly about beyond 2 decades. So because of more than 20 students worked with me for their PhDs, and I also did my PhD, and I've been pursuing my research on my own. So recollecting all those experience and days, perhaps I just have prepared the slides to present before you people. Probably I'm sure that you would see something different, in my lecture. And number two, that what I want to make very clear, in my lecture, I use the terminology, specifically the research and PhD, as if they are interchangeably used, as if they are synonyms. But strictly speaking, they are non-synonyms. Research is a journey and PhD is a byproduct of a journey. Okay, in spite of it, I'm just, wherever I mention I'm talking about research, you can understand that it's a PhD I'm talking about, or whenever I say it is PhD, then you can understand that I'm talking about the term called research, though there is a significant difference between those two terminologies. And more so important is that probably amongst you all, there could be about 50 participants. Out of 50, some of you must have been very senior professors who have been graduated with doctorate degree and must have started supervising PhDs. And some of you must have planned to submit your thesis and ready to take up your open VIVOS defense examination. And some of you may be planning to draft your thesis for submission. And some of you must have enrolled for PhD and appearing for coursework, and some of you must have just appeared for competitive examinations to clear to become eligible to take up admission to PhD, and some of you must have even dropped off idea of getting into PhD. I mean, amongst you I see different levels of personalities. So starting from the people who have been graduated and started supervising, the most senior professors, until the people who just have thought of dropping of PhDs in their life. But still, I'm sure that the slides which I created would suit every one of you, because you're all basically professionals, maybe in teaching, maybe in industry, irrespective of wherever you work. I'm sure that these slides would, in one or the other sense, would be of great support for your profession. So I request all the participants to keep your audio muted, unless otherwise I just raise questions expecting your response. Then only we can just unmute your audio, or you can keep your audio unmuted if you are sure that there is no background noise. Okay, it's my humble request to all of you, please better you mute your audio, and as and when you feel like responding my queries, you just unmute it and then respond, right? Otherwise, most of the times I don't ask you any questions at all. So, but at certain times, I just interact with you. I expect a kind of interaction from you people, including HRDC team members. Please mute your audios. So let's begin understanding the term called research first. How do I look at the term called research, right? Okay. Are the slides visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let's understand what is called research, basically. How do we understand this term called research? Probably I would love to split up this research into two terms. One is called RE, the re, and the other one is called search. To understand or to have a better knowledge on the terminology called research, first we have got to understand what is called search. So search, basically you're all familiar with that. It is a process of finding out something of my interest. I go in search of something of my interest. It could be somebody's interest, but because of his interest, I'm also interested in, because I want to help him out. I go for searching for it. I mean, basically I look for something of my interest. So that is first, number one. Where do I got to search for? Suppose I'm looking for my pen, I want to put my signature on a document, then I go in search of my pen. Where do I search for my pen, right? Do I go and search on a road? Do I go and search in a library, right? So all of a sudden I search for my pen in my pocket, preferably. If not available, then I search for my pen on my table, study table. So then we are going to make two things very clear, that what I am indirectly telling you. One is the object that you are looking for, right? What you are looking for, what are you searching for? And number two, where you are going to search for, right? What is the scope of search? Where are you going to locate it? So searching is a process of figuring out. Searching is a process of finding out something of my interest in a well-defined domain, I do it first time. Perhaps when you wanted to pursue your orientation program, then you were in search of very good, HRDC, very good human resource development center. Then you landed up with Mysore city, right? So if you do second time search, or next time if your own colleague wants to do for that, wants to join orientation program, probably you can help him out, right? So when you do it second time, the searching will not be as difficult as it was earlier, because you search for the same thing second time with the background of knowledge that you acquired in the previous search. And if you do it second time, you become much more efficient. If you do it third time, you become more effective. If you do it fourth time, you become experienced. Look, dear friends, my interest is not to end up being knowledgeable personality in my area of interest, but my interest is to end up being an experienced personality in the area of my interest. And to beyond that experienced personality, I want to be so wise to make use of that experience at the right time and the right topic, right? So to grow up to that level, it's not good enough to do search once. We have to do it second time, third time, fourth time, repetitively. And such a process of executing search on a topic of my interest, to have a finer details or to have a deeper knowledge on it, so that I become not only experienced but also wise personality on the domain of my interest, is what is called a repetitive search. And such a repetitive search is what is called research. Look at here, search is of course important, but search alone doesn't make me a wise person, but is very important. So search, research is so important to become such a great personality in the area of my interest. So it is cognition, we would say that, you would see many such terminologies. Cognition means understanding. Cognition means acquiring. Cognition means learning. Learning alone doesn't, it doesn't matter. Learning alone is not that important. Relearning is more important. Basically, you're all professors, basically you're all teachers. After having attended, after having delivered 1 hour of lecture, perhaps you have an habit of giving a couple of assignments for your students. Why do you give assignments to your student? Does it mean that you don't know the answers for them? No. Your interest is to push them not for learning, but for relearning, right? So they attend your lecture, they learn in your lecture all. Soon after completion of your lecture, you want them to get into relearning, right? I mean, learning is important, but relearning is more important. In my experience, so without relearning, learning is of no use. Similarly, here, cognition, recognition. You can recognize me. So you are looking at my, face on the video, which is being displayed on your monitor. So you must have, you are seeing me first time. But having seen me, not physically, of course, virtually, perhaps if I happen to be in your city on some other day down the line, perhaps you would be able to not cognize, you would be able to recognize me. And that recognition would happen because today cognition is happening. I mean, cognition is required for subsequent recognition, and cognition is for recognition. Recognition is because of cognition. Look at the mutual dependency between those two. Similarly here, search and research. Research will be of great support if you are so good at searching first, and if you continue searching, then you become a process. You are into a process what is called research. Probably in my subsequent slides, you would know why it is called how it is called repetitive. What is the looping structure over there in the process called research? So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, what I'm indirectly telling you that, if you want to define what is called research in a single terminology, you can end up simply saying, you can end up saying that it is search again, right? It is search again. I do search again and again. So that's what is called a research in a single terminology, in a single phrase. If you just want to simply define what is called research, you end up saying that it is search again process. So let's look at this picture now. Dear friend, my interest is to explain you the various attributes of two entities here. One is a process called research. Another one is a person who pursues research, a researcher, I would rather say. So one is a process called research. Another one is a person who pursues it called researcher. My interest is to explain you the various good attributes, a quality attributes of these two entities called research process and a researcher with the support of pictorial example. Nothing to do with picture processing, nothing to do with image processing, but I just want you to look at this picture, and the moment this picture got displayed in front of you, what component of this picture caught you first? Probably you would end up saying that a face of a old man, right? A face of a old man. And if you continue looking at it, the moment this got displayed, you, the moment it got displayed, look at it, is closed now and getting displayed. The moment it got displayed, probably what really catches you is the face of a world, head of the world person, right? And if you continue looking at it, I mean, if I permit you to spend little longer time looking at it, probably some of you must have seen these pictures already in some magazines. If you have seen these pictures already in some magazines, understand that I am permitting you to re-see it. It is not see, it is re-see. It is not look, it is re-look, right? You just have a re-look on this and try to dig out some more details on that, some more finer level, information on this picture, okay? Or else, if you are seeing it first time, close your eyes for a while and open your eyes, you would experience the re-see, right? You re-see again and again. Probably you would notice then when you look at this picture for little longer time, then you extract there is a young lady standing, and there are a couple of faces in different corners of the photography, and there is some animal like a dog sleeping on the road, and there is some old man standing uncomfortably, and so on and so forth. You try to find out different components, I'm sure that but the moment you looked at this picture, what really caught you first, your attention, was the head of the old man. I will come to this picture a little later. Let's move on to the next now. Suppose if I ask you a question, what do you really look at suddenly here? Then most of you would end up saying that there is a old couple. There is a couple, an old woman and a old man, right? There is a couple. And if you continue looking at it, then you can pursue a little more components of that. There is something in the ear part of the old man, and there are two people seated and playing guitar, and there is a in between some pause, etc. You see some other components also. You end up extracting many different components provided. Let me underline now, provided you have sufficient time to look at it. I mean, what is really required for anybody to acquire better knowledge, for anybody to look at the finer details on the topic of his interest, a great patience, great patience. And having such a great patience, if you spend considerable time on that without being hurried up, if you spend considerable time with a great patience, then you will have a chance to look at something which is being hidden. That is what is really a research. I mean, a research process should motivate you to, should create some environment where you will have some vision, where you will have something of your own interest which you dig out but others have not digged out. I mean, there is certain things which are not visible but indirectly covered up. There are certain things which are completely hidden, right? And such things have got to be extracted. In order to extract such information, in order to dig out such things, in order to disclose such things, one has to spend considerable amount of time with a constant focused mind, right? With continuously, if you spend time with a constant energy, and if you continue putting your great effort with a great patience, probably one day he will have a chance to dig out something different that others have not thought of it. That is what I am talking about. Look at in this picture. If you spend considerable time, you can dig out some additional information on this. Let's move on to the next. Probably in this picture, if you look at, suddenly some of you must have seen the face of a old woman like Mother Teresa, or some of you must have seen only the left back portion of left back view of a small kid, a young girl or a young kid, you would see that. Or some of you must have seen that it is a mixture of both. It's a mixture of both a old woman and a young kid. So my question is, can you think of separating them, right? So let me come to that little later, but let's move on to the first picture now. Probably now you see something additional, right? Because this is you're allowed to look at the same picture second time. Because you're allowed to look at the same picture second time, I'm sure that you were in a position to dig out something additionally when compared to the previous look. Let me help out now. What do? That I use some tools. Look at, dear friends, let me underline. I'm using some tool to mark some areas of my interest. I want to focus my attention on this a segmented component of this picture. Let me just get this picture segmented. Not only got it segmented, but also got it displayed in a reasonably magnified version, little, a scaled up version. The moment it is displayed in a little scaled up version, now I can concentrate only on this a segmented component of the image. Don't look at the whole image now. The whole image is now scanned from top to bottom, and then only some area of my interest got segmented and displayed adjacent to it in a magnified. Now I want you to concentrate on that, right? I want you to concentrate on that. So when I wanted you to concentrate on that, but now you can notice that there is something in her hand which you have never noticed, or some of you must have noticed, but I'm sure that not all of you have noticed that she is holding something in her hand, right? Now my question is, what is supposed to be that in her hand? Then you have different interpretation. So one majority, if you may end up saying that it is her kids, or it is her child. Let me narrate a small story. The story is the following. Let's assume that she is my neighbor, always staying adjacent to my residence. I've been watching her since her childhood, and she has come up from a poor family background, and her responsibility every day is to carry the sheep all along to our field in the morning and bring them back in the evening, right? Okay, she is taking care of a couple of sheep, 10 dozens of sheep in her hand and in her residence. So her responsibility is to take them to the field in the morning and allow them to eat some grass in the field and bring them back in the evening. While bringing all along all the sheep back in the evening to residence, she is carrying something in her hand, having grass on her head. Look at this story now. Based on with the background of this story, if I ask you a question, what is supposed to be in her hand? Now I'm sure that all of you end up labeling it to be a lamp, labeling it to be a kid of a sheep, a baby sheep, a lamp, I call it as. So you would label it as a lamp. On the other hand, if I just change my story, that look at this girl is from a poor family and she is standing in front of her hut, and what you see in the background is the roof of the hut, right? She is simply standing in front of the hut, and she got married just 18 months back, 1.5 years back. Then what is supposed to be in her hand? Then you would say that it is a baby, right? It is her kid. Look at here, the picture is same. The picture is same. What you look at, that picture is same, that young girl holding something in her hand which is not clearly visible. But in spite of it is not clearly visible, you are in a position to label it to be a lamp because of that first story, or you are capable of labeling it to be a baby because of the second story. I mean, what really matters is a background story, right? That's what. In order to interpret your experimental results, in order to interpret your data, in order to understand clearly what is the outcome of your experimentation, outcome of your research, you are going to have a strong background of knowledge. I mean, that's the reason behind most of the universities today, and including national institutions, insist upon coursework. You must have taken up a coursework. You must have acquired enough sufficient stuff, the background knowledge to do the research. When you do the research, there is certain outcome, and that certain outcome has got to be clearly labeled. And that in order to label it, you must have acquired a strong background of your. That is what is the benefit of coursework. Look at, that's the story here. Now my question is, see, here is something which is more, probably if you focus your attention, I don't want you to focus your attention on the entire image. Now you have to focus your attention with a high degree of concentration to only the segmented part. That's how the research topic is supposed to be. That entire picture could be thought of as field of mathematics, the entire picture could be thought of as area of economics, but the specialized, the segmented picture could be thought of as a branch of economics, a branch of mathematics, right? A branch of mathematics called graph theory. Then you are supposed to look at only the branch called graph theory. Within that graph theory, you have to look at a specific component of it. That's how you have to specialize your domain of research. That's how specialization, right? That's how I got to move towards narrowed down topic so that he will have some opportunity to see something which has not been seen by others so far. That is what is. Now my concern is on this old man standing, right? Suppose if I ask you a question, do you think that that man is comfortably standing the way in which I can stand up? I'm sure that you would say, no, sir, he is not comfortably standing, right? So virtually you are seeing me, but if I stand in front of you people, I stand comfortably well. I'm sure that this old man is not standing as comfortably as me can stand, right? If I ask you that question, do you think that this man stands comfortably as me standing? Then you would say that, no, sir. Then if I ask you a question, why? Probably you end up saying that he is old, Look at the moment you say that he is old, probably you accepted that I am young, So had I asked you a question directly that do you consider me as a young, then probably you may hesitate answering it or you may not answer it. But instead of asking you a question, do you consider me as young? If I ask you a question like this, displaying this picture first in front of you, and then asking you a question, do you think that this man is comfortably standing like I can stand? Then you say no. Then why? What is the reason? Then you end up saying that he's a old man. If you say that he's a old man, you accept that I am a young man, right? Look at that is the intellectual ability of a researcher. What is that? Sometimes it may not be possible for you to solve the problem of your interest directly when you attend to it. I mean, there is a problem P. However, effort that you put in, that problem P cannot be solved directly in its own version. Then, if you have an intellectual ability, if you can think of transforming that problem into a P dash, if you can think of re-expressing your problem in terms of another parameters but equivalent, and such a P dash can be solved easily, then this P can also be solved easily. I mean, you just convert this problem P to P dash, solve the problem P dash, find the solution to P dash, and then reverse the solution back to this, then you end up, a solution for the original problem P. That is what is an intellectual ability of a researcher I'm looking at. I mean, a researcher should have such a great background of knowledge so that you must be able to think of possibly many versions of the same problem, but all are equivalent. Finding out a solution for one of them would make you capable of solving the rest of things, right? I take up a problem, this P, I express this P in one way called P dash, let's say P1, and let's say P2, let's say P3. There are, let's say, 10 different versions of the same problem. P plus P1, P2, etc., P10, totally 11 versions. Now, if I can solve any one of them, probably, then I end up solving all 11 versions of the same problem. That is what is. I mean, look at, sometimes I find it very difficult to bend, Imagine an iron rod of 3-inch diameter. Imagine an iron rod of 3-inch diameter of 1 meter length. I want to bend it in the middle. However, I try it, it is not possible to bend it. Then what do? I just eat it up. I just eat it up at a position where I want to bend it. At the point where I have to bend it, I just heat it up. The moment it is heated, the raw, hard iron material becomes a soft material. The moment it becomes soft, I can bend it. And the moment I bend it, I just cool it back. That cooling is a reverse of heating. But heating gets me that raw, hard material transformed to a smooth material where operations can be done effectively and efficiently, where operations can be done very efficiently, and the problem becomes realizable. The moment the problem is realized, then you work in reverse, cool it back, then you will get your iron rod, right? So that's how I could solve the problem. Sometimes you have got to re-express your problem. You have got to re-express in terms of other parameters. But while re-expressing it, see that that re-expressed one is equivalent to the original. That's more important, right? So you solve the re-expressed one so that you can reverse back the solution so that you get the solution for the original. That is supposed to be a great attitude of a good researcher. Then suppose if I ask you a question, why so uncomfortable, and if you end up simply saying that he is old, I don't accept you as a good researcher. Look at, if you say it is old, then you are answering as, like the way others are answering, I don't want that. You have got to be unconventionally, you have got to unconventional in your thinking. You have got to think something different than others are thinking, That is supposed to be the ability of a good researcher. I mean, when I had interacted with my couple of young research scholars in my department way back, about 5 to 6 years back with the same example, one of my students answered this question. Sir, look at it. Just before you are presenting, before presenting this old man for a discussion, you presented a young girl first. Fine. Then what is that? Then he said, sir, you said, to interpret anything for that matter, to properly label an outcome of a research, one has to have a strong background. Yes, one has to have a strong background. Then he said, yes, because you presented first the young girl, I understood that young girl is standing in front of a old man. Even I, being young, hesitate and scared of standing in front of a young girl. How can I expect that old man to be comfortably standing in front of a young girl, sir? Even we, the young boys, really scared of standing in front of young girls. But how can we expect that old man to be so comfortable? Hence, he is uncomfortable, he said. Please try to understand his interpretation. His interpretation is that, I don't want to think in a conventional way, telling that he is old. But I want to say that who is standing in front of him? Young girl. Oh, how can you expect the old man to be so dare enough to be comfortable? Look, then I appreciated him because he allowed his brain to think unconventionally. Look, dear friends, as long as you want to be a good researcher, you must inculcate unconventional thinking. You should not think the way in which others are thinking. The moment you exhibit your originality, probably the solution that you find for a solution will have a novelty in it. The very important component to accept your research for publication or for patenting is the novelty. We look at the novelty. If you want to contribute something which is novel, then you have to use your original thinking. As long as you are individually different, as long as you exhibit your ability to think differently, I'm sure that even if a known problem is given to you, even if a well-solved problem is given to you, you always have an opportunity to create something new which others have not thought of. That is supposed to be the ability of a good researcher. That what I call it as diversification of thought. Diversification of thought is exactly like, imagine that I'm holding a cup of water. Imagine that I'm holding a cup of water. This cup is made up of a glass material, right? And due to some reason, I just drop it. The moment it is dropped, what happens? It gets broken down, Once it is broken down, do you think that the water will flow like Kaveri River in one direction from, Talkaveri to Tamil Nadu and then Bay of Bengal? No, it gets spread across in all possible 360 directions. It gets spread across randomly in all possible 300-degree directions. Similarly, the moment a problem is given to the mind of a researcher, the researcher should think in all possible directions. That is what I call it as diversification ability. So what? Diversification of what? Diversification of thoughts. So that is a great attribute of a good researcher. Look there. So there are a couple of faces that you can notice, right? And now what is this? What do you say about this? What is this? Then most of you would say that, it's an animal sleeping on a road, or it could be the right palm, right hand of the old man, keeping it on his chest, right? You have a different interpretation. Or see, for example, I just tell you that, this is a photography which I could capture personally when I was I appreciate people, please keep your audio muted. Hello, there are people from Dr. Nanjun Swami. Hello? Hello, Nanjun Swami. Hello.
Professor Guru sir, you are a co-host and you can only mute.
Kiran, keep your audio muted.
No. I'm saying you can mute that fellow. You can do that.
Dr. Nanjun Swami, please mute yourself. Hello? Okay. So see that here is some people saying that there is an animal sleeping on the road. Let me just tell you the following. For example, I say that I captured this picture from United States of America. You know, when I was in USA, I just got it personally clicked. Probably some of you must have visited USA and some of you must have heard of, you know, the disciplinary nature of, you know, people in USA. Why dogs, even cows are not allowed to move on the streets? Then can you expect a dog to be sleeping on the road? Obviously no. If I ask you a question, what is the probability that you would see a dog on the road if this picture is from United States of America? I'm sure that you would end up saying that it is zero, sir. We cannot expect any animal and specifically dog on the street. But on the other hand, if I just tell you that, look, dear friends, I just got this picture clicked yesterday when I happened to be in city of Mysore, Devaraj Road. There is a street called Devaraj Road. I could click this picture. I could click this picture from Devaraj Road. Then probably you would end up saying that, why, Dr. Guru, there is only one dog sleeping, but we expected many more dogs to sleep, right?
Guru sir, mosquito.
Guru sir, am I audible? Guru sir?
Yes.
Guru wait. Sir, you can only mute that person.
Mute everybody, please. ನಿಮ್ಮದೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಗ್ಲಾಸ್ ಗೀಸ್ ಹೊಡೆದು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಮುಂದಾಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡೋದು ಅದನ್ನ. Usually ಎಲ್ಲ ವಾಚನೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. You are a co-host, so you can mute everybody.
Sir, can you hear me?
Hello. Swami.
ಅದನ್ನೇ ಒಂಚೂರು ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಒಂಚೂರು ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. Guru sir, you are a co-host, so you can mute everybody.
I don't want to do all the things, please. Nanjun Swami, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲರದು. ನೋಡಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ, ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿಸಲ್ವಾ? Are those who are with
dear participants, please mute the speakers. Hello, only sir, announce ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Dear participants, please mute the speaker. Hello.
Sir, someone called Anant Krishna KS.
Who is Anant Krishna? He is not our participant. Please Anant Krishna. Who is this?
Please remove him, sir.
Just a minute. Somebody, Anant Krishna.
You can mute everybody, no?
Sir, ಎಲ್ಲ ಇವ್ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಇಂಟರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ ಜೊತೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಪದೇ ಪದೇ
ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ. ಒಬ್ರು ಯಾರು ಇರಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇವತ್ತು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಶಾಟ್ ರಜಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಇಬ್ರು ಇರೋದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಈಗ.
ಫೈನ್.
ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ ಸರ್? ಓಕೆ. ಸಾರಿ ಸರ್.
Fine then.
Okay, sir.
So see that if I say that this picture captured in one of the cities in India, then you say that there are many dogs expected. But on the other hand, if I say that it is from United States of America, you would say that no, sir, we cannot expect any dog. I mean, what matters? Where is this from? I mean, source of data. Look, dear friends, most of the times we, the researchers, especially Indians, would concentrate only on the primary data that we ended up collecting without bothering about the source of data. I mean, if there is a statement told by Harish Chandra, then the statement is ever true. If there is a statement which is told by Nakshatrika, then the statement is ever lie. Look at who has told it. That matters a lot. I mean, most of the times we collect the data without worrying about what is his qualification, how much experience does he have got in the similar field, Without that, we just end up collecting data and then analyzing the data. But we end up analyzing the wrong data. I mean, you have to understand clearly the data. Before understanding the data, you must know the parameters of the source of data, right? Not only the source of data, sometimes we have to look at the secondary contextual data. The contextual data. The contextual data matters. Most of the times, when we write on the board, being teachers, and sometimes we just misspell it. The moment I just write it something, even if some character is not visible, the students are capable of predicting that character, because what comes before that character and what comes after that character. That is what is called contextual data. Look, suppose if some people happen to see me walking in Manasa Gangotri campus with a couple of students, then that person understands that he is a teacher. Suppose somebody looks at me standing and talking continuously in a classroom with the presence of students, then he understands that I am a teacher. On the other hand, if the same person looks at me continuously talking on a dais in a classroom without having any student, then he understands that I may be a mad person. Look at myself is same. The topic of discussion is same. The body language is same. Language, oral language is also same. My qualification is same. But one instance, I have a couple of students. Another instance, I have no student. So both instances will help the other person to label me differently. Look at, if I walk with my mother and I am considered to be a son. If I walk all along with my kids, then I am considered to be the father. If I am seen in front of a railway station, I am treated to be a passenger. If I am seen laying down on a bed in a hospital, I am considered to be a patient. Look at, myself is same. All attributes, everything about me is same, but the situations are different, contexts are different. And based on the context, I will have a different label. So you have to understand not the data, contextual data also. That's what I call it as secondary data. Right? And not only the data, but also the source of the data, sensors. If you want to do image processing, which image you are working on, what is the quality of the sensors a camera, right? And so on. You have to look at all those aspects while understanding the data. With this picture examples, I just wanted to tell you those attributes which I have narrated about, right? So probably just imagine a situation where I have a cup, right, and then collect the water in front of you, right, with the support of a tap. There is a tap in front of you. I just collect cup of water and I just bring a spoon and serve. The moment I serve that water which was collected in front of you, what do? You just receive it and then wash your hand. On the other hand, if I just bring the same water with the same spoon and serve you, telling you that I brought it yesterday, I had been to Tirupati. I don't tell you that, it is from Tirupati temple, but I just simply tell you that I had been to Tirupati yesterday, please take it. Whether I got it collected today in the morning in my residence or somewhere with the support of a tap, it doesn't matter, because I just said that I had been to Tirupati yesterday. You would take it, that drop of water, so with a great respect, I mean, what really matters is not the drop of water I am serving. It is, where is it from, right? Where is it from? That is more important. I mean, that's what is called source of data and secondary data, the importance of that. Okay. I'm sorry, something went wrong.
It's good, sir. Nothing.
Something went wrong, I believe.
Oh, maybe from your side, maybe, sir.
I think.
Please check.
Your slide is on, sir.
Is it on?
Yeah.
The screen, is it visible still?
No, not visible.
No, not now.
No, not now, sir.
Okay.
Not now. No, it's okay, sir.
No, but still it's not functioning. Let me just close it up and then. Is the screen visible?
Not, sir. No, sir. You are visible, but your slide is not visible, sir.
Now?
Now it's visible, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good, sir.
Let's now look at this picture now. So when you had seen this picture first time, probably you just have understood that there is an old couple, and now there is some more interesting picture. You can see somebody seated holding his hat, and there is somebody seated, holding a hat and playing a guitar. Probably, I mean, what I am indirectly telling you that one has to put a continuous effort for a considerable time. If you put in similar, constant, continuously the effort, for a considerable time, then I'm sure that you will have an opportunity to see something different that others have not seen, right? These are the different. Suppose if I ask you a question, do you think that this couple is love each other or hate each other? Then probably some of you may end up saying that, sir, this couple appear to be loving each other, or this couple appear to be hating each other. When you declare that this couple love each other, you have got to justify your answer, right? Look at in research, what is really required is not to just announce what the result you got it. Look, dear friends, research is not a process of simply displaying the results you got. Any experimentation perhaps gives you the result. That result has got to be reasoned out. That is what is called research, right? Reasoning of the result is what is called research, not displaying of the result. Most of the times, what do? We conduct the experiments, we generate the data, we get the result, and we tabulate the result and go for publication, right? No. Why you got that result? What was expected? How much is closer to that expectation? Why you got something deviated from it? What is the reason for it? How many times it went fail? How many times it went success? You have got to calculate, and then why did it go fail? Reason it out. Why did it go success? It is just reason it out. And that process of reasoning out what you got is what is called result. Look at here. My question is just to answer. Do you think that they are loving each other? You can justify that. But while justifying it, don't get prejudiced. I mean, don't use your experience that because just you love your spouse, arguing that, in a similar way, these love each other. Just because you hate your spouse, you cannot say that this couple also hate each other. No. When you want to answer, you have to extract information from this available picture only. You are not supposed to bring in some additional data from the outside. If you bring in some additional data from the outside to there, then I say that your result is prejudiced. So you have to conduct the research independent of prejudice. There shall not be any prejudice at all. Probably, if we want to prove that these two love each other, then you can claim that, look at the left hand of an old man, he is trying to hugging her. So when he wants to hug, I mean he has great love, right? And both are hugging each other. That's how I say that they are loving each other, sir. On the other hand, somebody who wants to prove that they are hating each other, then you can say that look at the eyes of that old lady. It appears to be very, 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 angry. And he is trying to convince her by hugging her. Unfortunately, she doesn't convince. Then I may have a question. How much are you sure? Then you can claim that, look, dear sir, so there is a photography that old man always has in his hair, and that photography is something a young girl, and how can I expect this old lady to be happy about this old man? Because he carries somebody's photo, not that wife photo. So this could be the reason. That's what you have to think unconventionally. But when you think unconventionally and when you want to justify, look, dear researchers or friends, if you want to claim extraordinary in your research, you have to give an extraordinary justification for it. And that extraordinary justification is because of the process of inferring, deducing something out of what is available in your experimental environment itself. You are not supposed to bring in additional that you wanted. So in that case, I say your research is prejudiced. Any research is supposed to be independent of prejudice. Look at. Now, as I said, in this picture, you see a kind of agglomeration, a kind of integration of what? A small young kid, a face of a small young kid from this view, and the face of a old lady. So probably you see that this is the eye of a old lady. This is the mouth of the old lady. This is the nose of the old lady. This is the forehead of the old lady, and so on. Then this is a old lady. On the other end, you can see that this is the nose of the young girl, this is the eye part of the young girl, this is the forehead of the young girl, and this is the mouth area of the young girl, this is the beard of the young girl. So then this what you wanted to say was the eye of a old lady now has become an ear of the young girl, right? Look at this is an agglomeration. This is an integration of two, old and young. You cannot see only young by erasing the old component. You cannot see old, only old by erasing the young component. I mean, young and old, they are present mutually depending on each other. Please listen let me underline, young is present because of the presence of the old, and old is present because of the presence of the young, and you cannot think of separating them out. That's how the relationship between a great person called a senior old person called supervisor and a young brain researcher, right? That's how the relation should be between a supervisor and a research scholar. If that relationship is so integrated, I'm sure that there shall not be any divorce for at least subsequent 3 to 4 years, so that researcher will have a tremendous time to work and contribute something good. So this photography I have intentionally taken up, just let you know that this is how the relationship between a researcher and a supervisor. You have to create such associationship with your supervisor in case if you are a researcher, and you have to create such a relationship with your students in case you are a research supervisor. So with all this, what we understood is the following. Look at. So in the left side, what you see, those are the attributes of a process called research. So a research process should have some tool and procedure. You have to well define. I mean, I said for the purpose of searching, you have to define one, the scope and objective number 2. Those are the next two. But when you do the process, you have to go with certain tools. The way in which I got that segmented and displayed in a magnified version, I followed some procedure of segmentation and I used some tool to segment it, and before you start your research, you have to clearly define what are the tools and procedures that you think of adopting. And you cannot always, start from a fresh, from the foundation. You have to assume certain level, right? And based on that, you can continue doing your research. And then when I was asking you a question, what is the region? What is the region? Probably you thought of different way of answering, and every way of finding out a solution. This could be the possible solution. This could be the possible solution. And that's what is your guess towards solution. And while guessing towards solution, I'm sure that you used your background knowledge. And such an educated guess is what is called hypothesis. Any research has to begin with an hypothesis. But don't think of single hypothesis. Better you work out parallelly many hypotheses and try to justify those hypotheses. Try to establish those hypotheses. If you become successful at least in one or two, then you can think of planning of your submission of your thesis. So that's what is called hypothesis. Hypothesis is a guess, basically a guess, but not a random guess. It is supposed to be a systematic, driven by your background of study. And such an educated guess is what is called hypothesis. Then I said contextual data is equally important, source of data is equally important. These are all the different parameters that you have to remember while carrying out your research. On the other hand, what you have roughly about another 8 lines here on the right side, those are the quality attributes of a good researcher. Researcher should be so good at in diversification of thought. I had narrated with pictorial example, and must have a focused mind, right? Should not have a diluted mind, so here and there changing of his mind, nothing will happen. You have to have a focused mind. However challenge, however complex that problem is, but if you have a focused mind, more concentrated on that, probably down the line next week and 1 or 2 weeks, you can get that problem solved. What is really important is a researcher should have very, very focused mind and should have acquired a strong background of knowledge and should have a great patience. In my opinion, in PhD, the first letter called P refers patience. Patience, patience. Patience is the very important thing. And you being a researcher should always be active even while sleeping, if not completely, at least in subconscious, while keep your subconscious active on the problem of your interest. Even while sleeping, probably your subconscious works and gets you the solution to the problem. And you should be systematic in approach, in the sense that whatever you do today, if your supervisor or anybody wants you to repeat it, you should be able to reproduce the same thing. And such an ability to reproduce the thing which has been done is what is called systematic. Perhaps my lecture, if Dr. Nanjun Swami wants me to deliver lecture for the next set of participants, probably I go with the same, maybe with a different set of examples, maybe in a different oral language, maybe in Kannada, maybe Hindi, maybe in English only, but maybe in different body language. But still, I go in the same way of covering it up. That's what I call it as a system. It is reproducible, I say. So that's what is called systematic in approach, and you should have certain commitments to accomplish it, and you should have very, very determined mindset. See that I would definitely accomplish it. And that is the confidence level of a good researcher. Now, my question is the following. Probably now we have spent about 40 minutes so far. After Dr. Nanjun Sami, handed over session to me, probably now we spent roughly about 35 to 40 minutes. Now, please unmute and answer what we were doing for the last 40 minutes. Anybody for that matter, please unmute and answer. What did we do for the last 40 minutes?
For the 40 minutes, we have understood about what is research and how it can be undertaken with the specific mindset of the researcher.
My question is, were you active or passive for the last 40 minutes?
Active, sir. We are active, sir.
Are you sure? All of you are sure that you are active?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Active listeners.
Very good.
Sir,
Don't lie.
in last 40 minutes, we have seen how to start with the research. First, what do you mean by research and how to start with the
Fine.
research?
Don't explain me fully. Were you active or passive for the last 40 minutes?
Active.
Active, sir. What did we do? We just went on asking and answering questions, I just went on asking questions, answering questions, and you used to not only listen, but also grasp and thinking of different way of interpreting. I mean, what did I do for the last 40 minutes? I did a research on research,
Yes.
Wanted to give it a different style, wanted to present in a different style. I just had given them different dimension to the topic called research, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, what did I do for the last 40 minutes to keep you all active? I just have brought in some pictures and displayed in front of you with that pictorial example. I had asked several questions, but unfortunately, because of not physical classes, otherwise I should have created kind of great interactions with you people, asking you questions, expecting your answers, and again permitting you to ask me a question, answering myself. So that is what a kind of interaction with inquiries. I mean, what did I do for the last 40 minutes? It was a kind of inquiry, asking and answering questions, and that period was active period. And look, dear friends, if you want to expand this definition of research from this single phrase called search again to a single sentence, then you can simply say that it is an active process of inquiry. An active process, any active process of inquiry is a research. Suppose you go to a new city, it is your first visit to Bangalore, for example, and you just inquire some people over there about your location. Then you are doing indirectly research. That's a research for you, because you are trying to find out something unknown to you. Must have been known to somebody else, but for you it is a research. Any active process of inquiry. That's what Newton did, when he had happened to see an apple falling down, he just asked himself, why it has fallen down? What is the reason for it? He never imagined an application of his theories, but he wanted to find a reason for an apple falling down from the tree. The moment it got detached from the tree, it fell down. Why did it? Why did it not go up? Why did it not go in different direction? Why did it come down? No. He had asked himself. It was a great question for him, and he was uncomfortable. Look at the questioners had put him into uncomfortable mode. Anything which keeps you in uncomfortable mode, and if you try to come out of that uncomfortable mode to a comfortable mode by reasoning it out, then you are unknowingly into research process. So research can be defined to be at first level search again process. And if you want to expand it to a sentence, then you can say an active process of inquiry. And that active process of inquiry is expected to be a systematic and diligent. Why it's systematic? I already told you. It's something which is reproducible. Diligent, you should be happy about it. I mean, after completion of my lecture, if I recollect the way in which I could convince you people on the topic of my interest called research, philosophically, if I feel happy that I did a good thing, Every participant was so happy about me lecturing. Then I understand that my delivery process was diligent. I mean, after completion of your PhD, after completion of your research journey for about 5 years, if you recollect those days and if you feel proud about yourself, then I say that the process that you had undergone through was a diligent process. Any research process, being an active process of inquiry, should follow what is called a systematic and diligent. So, and such an active process of inquiry is called research. Okay, that could be a one. Otherwise, some people say that it is an invention. Some people that the process of finding out some new thing, process of understanding some new things, process of finding a new method of solving, all different ways of defining research. Think of 10 definitions, think of 100 definitions. I'm sure that if you are 50 in number, you all can define the term called research in 50 different ways. But every way of defining research is correct, but none of them alone is sufficient. If we can assimilate all 50 definitions together into single, right, by merging of them, by inducing something out of them, putting them in a paragraph through a process of integration, and such a paragraph could be a better way of defining what is called research. And a summary which could be extracted out of all such definitions and that from a single paragraph is what is called an active process of inquiry. And such an active process of inquiry may lead to one of the following. It could be a discovery type of research, it could be an interpretation type of research, or it could be a revising facts type of research. Now let me tell you just what is called discovery. Discovery. Something which is covered, not visible. I mean, something which is hidden but present. It is there inside the corpus. It is there inside, but unfortunately not visible. So this object is there, but I am holding it, not visible. Then you somehow see that it is visible, and that is what is called discovery. Discovery is something which you disclose it. That doesn't mean that you are seeing it first time. Probably your grandfathers must have seen, your grandparents must have seen it, but they are not conveyed to the next generation, and that knowledge got blocked. And current generation, nobody has seen it, but our grandparents 100 years back, it was seen by many people, but unfortunately now it is completely covered up. Now you dig it out and see that it is visible for contemporaries, and that is what is called discovery, right? Okay, so we see that, Vasco da Gama discovered, Columbus discovered America, right? Doesn't mean that he was the first man who lived in America. No, earlier to his visit to America, there were people living in America. And earlier to Columbus went over there, there were many people who visited America from other side. But unfortunately, nobody has come back and documented it. And he did it what? Not only that, he visited, came back, and then made a documentation telling that I visited, if there is a new land, you people go in this way and reach that new land. That is what is called discovery. So discovery, perhaps in our university library, our university being a centenary, celebrated university, our library is about 100 years old library. Imagine that there was a book purchased on the first day when library was inaugurated. But unfortunately, from that day itself, nobody has touched that book, and it was kept in a corner of a library. Just imagine, there was a huge book, very, very big book purchased on the first day of when library was inaugurated. But unfortunately, when it was kept on the shelf at a corner, and nobody has touched it for the last 100 years. And now you go and see it, because nobody has touched it. It is full of dust, and title is not visible. Take your kerchief, take away the dust. Now you say that you discovered the title of a new book, right? It is a new book for the current population, current generation. It was an old book for the others. But for the last 100 years, there is a gap and nobody has noticed it, and you discovered it. That is what is called discovery, right? Discovery doesn't mean that you created something. It has been existing, but not being noticed. Okay, even if it is noticed, not fully noticed, one more dimension was created by you and it brought into the notice. That is what is. I mean, there is something which is being hidden, not being visible, and it is your effort which has made it visible. It is your effort which has brought it out, which you have extracted, right? That is what is called discovery. Interpretation. That's what I have been doing for the last 45 minutes, last 60 minutes. What I have been doing, I am interpreting the term called research in my own style in possibly many ways. That is also your research. I am doing research on research. This whole research could be interpreted. Similarly, you take up some statements given by others and assimilate them and then think of giving them an interpretation. For example, if I say that, dear friends, I had not been to Bangalore yesterday along with my wife. Very simple statement. I had not been to Bangalore city yesterday along with my wife. What's your understanding? Some of you may interpret that, Dr. Guru went to Bangalore, but not along with wife. Somebody was there, right? Or some of you must have interpreted, may interpret that Dr. Guru must not have gone to Bangalore yesterday, must have gone to some other city, Cochin, along with wife. Or you may interpret that not yesterday, must have gone to Bangalore along with my day before yesterday. So look at the same statement, a single simple statement that I had not been to Bangalore yesterday along with my wife can be interpreted in different ways. Think of all possible, and that is what are called hypotheses. And then collect the data and go for establishing one of them. That is what is establishment of hypothesis. That's what is called interpretation. But while interpreting, you must have a justification with a supportive data, with a supportive experimentation, with a supportive theory, with a supportive mathematics, and so on and so forth, right? That's all what is called interpretation. So another could be revising fact. Dear friend, look at here. I have because I don't believe in invention being a person with a strong background of mathematics. I always say that everything what you call it as invention is nothing but a transformation. It was existing earlier in some other form, but it got transformed into this form. So hence invention is considered to be a transformation process. That's why I carefully avoided the term called a research aims at invention. But if you love to have it, you can have it as a fourth one called invention, right? So the third one is a revising fact. The revising fact is the following, like I say that, Rama is a brother of Lakshmana, and Lakshmana is a brother of Bharata. Then what do you say? You say that Rama, Bharata, and Lakshmana are brothers, right? You just have integrated all the facts. I had given you the two truth, facts. Fact is something which is ever true, right? It's a tautology. A statement called Rama was a brother of Lakshmana is a tautology. Lakshmana is a brother of Bharata is also a tautology. Ever true statements. Given another ever true facts, I mean statements. Now what do? I understand them mutually. I understand them individually. I understand them collectively. Given are many such facts now. Given are n number of such facts. Understand each fact individually and then understand the relationship existing of those facts collectively and then infer something out so that inferred is an integration of all but presents in a different style in a compact manner. That could be a wonderful research. That is what is called revising fact. But the same inference rule cannot be applied everywhere, because Rama is a brother of Lakshmana, Lakshmana is a brother of Bharata. You can say brother Rama and Bharata are the brothers. Rama is a brother of Bharata. You cannot say that, a teacher loves a daughter and student loves a teacher. Doesn't mean that student loves his daughter, right? So same inference engine cannot be used everywhere. Which inference engine has got to be adopted? It all depends on the domain knowledge. Purpose of study. You must have a strong, knowledge on why you are going to do the research. What is your purpose of doing it up? What is the data collected? And based on that, you are going to think of a great inference engine. Otherwise, engine would generate a wrong result. Same inference rules cannot be applied for all the data that you collected. It all data dependent inference engine. So in sometimes revising fact, I really appreciate this kind of research because unknowingly sometimes it takes me to unwanted, unexpected result. I never expected. I don't want it to be, but I got it generated. All of a sudden, I find something surprising. Never expected. Something like, you just have dropped yourself into a pool of water. You want to swim, right? And you are looking for some object inside the water, and because of water flows, even inside the pool, that object moves to another corner, and you are in search of, let's say, a ring. You are looking for a ring made up of gold material in one corner, and because of that, you swim all through and land up with another corner of the swimming pool where you see a diamond. That is what is. I mean, in revising fact, you have to provide a kind of navigation from fact to a fact. There are certain facts that you collected, you are understood individually. While understanding them collectively, you have to create a navigation. And that process of navigation should be optimized. And that process of navigation, I mean, the path which would navigate you from a fact to a fact may eventually take to some other new fact which is not expected but surprisingly generated. That happens. I mean, you wanted to study on dogs, you wanted to study on relationship between dogs and cats, but finally end up being, with the relationships on cows and, horses. Something unexpected that can happen in revising fact. Then I say that you got something surprising, a really wonderful result, right? So that is possible in case of revising fact. So in any case, whether you do a discovery type of research, or you do interpretation type of research, or you do revising type of research, research is basically categorized to be of two types. One is a fundamental research, another one is applied research. Fundamental is called pure, like what Newton did. Newton just asked himself a question why it is falling down. Went on finding the reasons. He has come out with a theory of gravitation, right? But he never imagined that there will be tremendous applications of theory of gravity. He never imagined. Had he just worried about the applications of his theory, then he must not have proposed the theory. He must not have discovered the theory. He must not have invented the theory on the other hand. He never imagined, he never thought of an application, but he wanted to solve the problem. Look, sometimes ask a question, whether it finds application or not, that's immaterial for you. But try to understand whether that problem or a question has a solution already or not. If not, find a solution to it. Generate the knowledge. I mean, create a new knowledge. This pure or fundamental research is responsible in creating a new knowledge. It uplifts the knowledge base of the concerned literature. If you are doing research in physics area, then there is certain level of knowledge created already. A knowledge base is there. That library of knowledge has got to be enriched, has got to be uplifted with added knowledge. And if your research happens to be such a research, adding up additional knowledge into the existing knowledge of your domain, then I say yours is a fundamental, yours is a basic, yours is a pure. So pure research adds up a new knowledge, creates a new knowledge. Whereas on the other hand, applied research is to make use of the knowledge created already, to make practical things possible. I have certain problems today, practically. Then I don't create a new knowledge. I make use of the available knowledge and see that this problem is solved. Then I say it is an applied research. So applied research makes practical application possible, and it finds a solution to an existing problem in reality, whereas basic research creates a new knowledge and so on. So that doesn't mean that basic research is great and applied research is not that great. There shall not be any such barrier between these two research. You have to take them one all along with the other. So there shall not be any such classification that it is not great, that's great, or this is not great, that's great, and so on. So dear friends, so I think this is the right time to stop for a while. We'll break for about 15 minutes,
Yes.
right? So let's meet back again at same 11:45 without any delay. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.